How could 12 floors vanish in just 10 seconds? Now, years later, major new updates and video footages have emerged in the investigation of this disastrous condo collapse. In the early hours of June 24, 2021, the structural collapse of Champlain Towers South in Surfside, Florida, marked one of the deadliest building failures in U.S. history. Witnesses described the disaster as apocalyptic.
A never-ending nightmare.
A thunderous noise shattered the night, reminiscent of an earthquake. And as a massive cloud of dust rose and then settled, it unveiled a harrowing reality. The 12-story beachfront condominium had collapsed. As we explore the moments leading up to this tragedy and the newfound evidence, we're confronted with the haunting reality of missed warnings and the profound impact on the survivors and the bereaved.
I feel very angry.
The fallout was immediate and devastating, 98 lives lost, and a community plunged into mourning. While the community reeled from the immediate shock, the collapse thrust a pressing question into the national consciousness. How could a building, seemingly secure and full of life, disintegrate without warning? But really the question is, were there no warnings? Or did they look the other way? As investigators delved into the rubble, they uncovered a series of systemic failures that could no longer be ignored. Now, years later, after long-awaited investigations and family of victims longing for some sort of closure for the loss of their loved ones, finally, recent developments have thrown the spotlight back onto the ruins of Champlain Towers South. Advanced video analysis and interviews with engineers have unearthed a series of fatal errors, from the compromised integrity of the pool deck to the alarming deterioration of concrete and rebar, long ignored despite the growing danger. These revelations, emerging from the depths of the investigation, paint a grim picture of the collapse as a disaster foretold, ignored by those who chose to look the other way. The revelation that signs of significant deterioration were overlooked has led to a critical question. How many warnings went unheeded? Tucked away near the vibrant city of Miami, Surfside boasted the charm of a quaint town with the allure of a high-end seaside community. This slice of paradise, known for its lavish resorts, bustling cafes, and serene sandy shores, promised an idyllic lifestyle to its dwellers. Champlain Towers South, standing majestically along the coveted Collins Avenue, epitomized this dream. With its stunning ocean vistas and posh amenities, the building was not just a residence, but a beacon of success and tranquility. Yet behind its gleaming facade, a catastrophe was brewing, masked by years of neglect and overlooked warnings. The evening before the disaster unfolded like any other in Surfside, with residents and visitors alike basking in the warm embrace of the Floridian night. Yet adjacent to the Champlain Towers, a couple strolling through the area stumbled upon a disturbing sight. At the building's garage entrance, a pile of concrete debris lay scattered, while water streamed from the ceiling, painting a picture of decay under the opulence. Unknown to them, these were the harrowing precursors to a disaster of monumental proportions. June 24, 2021. At approximately 1:22 a.m., an alarming breakdown occurred as concrete beams supporting the garage ceiling failed catastrophically. This structural failure precipitated the collapse of the pool deck above, setting off a deafening alarm for residents whose condominiums overlooked this area. The sight of the pool deck, once a place of leisure, now crumbling onto cars parked below, sparked immediate panic, a harbinger of the calamity that was unfolding. For other residents, the first ominous signs were subtle yet foreboding. Inside the building, an unsettling symphony of structural distress began to unfold. Initial, almost inaudible sounds of cracking permeated through the concrete, hinting at the impending disaster. These were the building's final whispers, a dire warning of the collapse that was about to ensue. In mere moments, the disaster escalated. The building's central section, adjacent to the now collapsed pool deck, detached and plummeted. Floor by floor, the tower succumbed to gravity, sending a massive cascade of debris plummeting downward, resembling a controlled demolition to distant onlookers. This event, characterized by rapid, successive floor collapses, is known in structural engineering as a pancake collapse. This rapid sequence of destruction, unfolding in less than 12 seconds, blanketed the vicinity in dust and ushered in a deathly silence. When the dust cleared, the extent of the disaster was starkly apparent. The western part of Champlain Tower South stood ominously, its northern connection to the central section brutally severed, leaving behind a scene of devastation. The collapse unfolded with terrifying speed, as observed in surveillance footage that captured the tragedy with chilling clarity. Reza Rodriguez, a ninth-floor resident, recounts the harrowing moments. "I hear this awful noise. It felt like a mountain coming down." Thrown from her bed by the force of the collapse, she faced a reality that defied comprehension.
And that's when I said to myself, what the hell's going on? We don't have earthquakes in Miami.
Stepping onto what remained of her balcony, she was confronted with an unfathomable sight.
So once I opened the door to the stairwell, my brain couldn't compute what I was seeing.
Oh my God! Yanni! The whole entire building is gone.
It's like, what's going on? Where's the building?
The building was gone. The elevators, the stairwells, the familiar hallways were now just rubble. Rodriguez's story of escape through the remnants of Champlain Towers South underscores the desperation and confusion of those first hours. It took them over 2 hours to find a path to safety. The emergency response was swift. Within a minute of the collapse, the local fire brigade was alerted and quickly arrived at a scene that bore more resemblance to a battlefield than a residential complex. The central building segment lay in ruins, and residents from the still-standing portions were desperately trying to find their way to safety, their calls for help piercing the dust-filled air. This catastrophe required an immediate, comprehensive response from Miami-Dade County's emergency services, leading to a significant mobilization of resources as sirens echoed through the night. Recovery teams embarked on a relentless search, navigating through the wreckage to identify all victims, whose ages spanned from 1 to 92 years. However, working relentlessly 12-hour shifts 24 hours per day to further complicate the rescue operations amidst the ruins, an underground fire exacerbated the situation, filling the wreck's cavities with dense smoke. With each passing day, the number of missing individuals was gradually decreasing, yet heartbreakingly, no new survivors were found. As time became increasingly critical, the ongoing rescue operations faced a sudden and urgent halt. The safety of the rescuers came under serious threat due to the precarious condition of the building's western wing. This part of the structure, still ominously standing, was dangerously leaning, with experts fearing its imminent collapse within days. Compounding these challenges, the weather forecast delivered further grim news. Tropical storm Elsa was on its approach towards Florida, threatening the already precarious remains of the building with potential collapse from strong winds and heavy rain. With the safety of rescue workers in jeopardy and the storm's imminent arrival, the decision was made to temporarily halt search efforts, and so the grim reality set in. The chances of finding survivors were diminishing with each passing day. On July 5th, the western portion of Champlain Towers South was brought down in a controlled demolition, a poignant moment that allowed rescue operations to resume in the storm's aftermath. However, this phase marked a transition from rescue to recovery, acknowledging the harsh reality that the chance of finding survivors had all but vanished. By July 26th, the recovery operation concluded with a devastating toll. 98 lives lost, marking the disaster as one of the deadliest building collapses in U.S. history. 98 individuals had perished, each a devastating loss to their families. Amidst the silence that followed, the community of Surfside and the nation beyond grappled with a single, haunting question. How could this have happened? Looking back now, Years before the tragedy, signs of trouble were already emerging. An engineering report from 2018, commissioned as part of a routine structural integrity assessment, unveiled alarming deficiencies. The document detailed significant issues with the pool deck's waterproofing, crucially noting that the system had far exceeded its lifespan and was causing extensive damage to the concrete structural slab below. Cracks and spalling within the parking garage beneath the pool deck were evident, signaling a severe risk not just to the building's integrity, but to its very survival. Despite these dire warnings, the urgency of these issues were underestimated. The report, stark in its implications, did not lead to immediate action. It highlighted a systemic failure, a disconnect between the recognition of potential danger and the initiation of preventative measures. This oversight would prove catastrophic. In the days that followed, the search for answers began in earnest.
How is the building still standing with so many violations?
And where is justice?
Why did it happen? Who's at fault?
With the community and the world looking on in shared mourning and disbelief. Just 7 minutes before the tower crumbled, Jonah Handler, 15, and his mother, Stacy Fang, were startled awake by a disturbing noise. Despite their concern, the absence of any alarm or evacuation order led them to believe it was a false alarm. The silence that followed was misleading. The building was on the brink of collapse. Investigations and interviews have since revealed that the building's security guard, unaware of how to use the building's audio warning system due to lack of training, missed a critical opportunity to alert residents. "If I had known about it, I would have pressed it," said Shamoka Furman, the guard on duty, highlighting a fatal gap in emergency preparedness. The building was equipped with a sophisticated alert system that could broadcast warnings directly into residents' bedrooms. Yet it remained silent during the crucial moments leading up to the collapse. Activating it could have significantly increased the chances of survival for many. As details emerge, it's clear that nearly everyone in the part of the building that collapsed did not survive. And therefore the world watched, waiting for accountability and justice for the victims and their families. Unfortunately, this waiting became a time frame of years of uncertainty and patience for the residents and families of victims. Finally, last week, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, in a recent update, has shed light on the complex web of factors leading to the Champlain Tower's south collapse. With the release of new video evidence and the narrowing of hypotheses, the investigation moves closer to uncovering the truth behind a disaster that claimed 98 lives. A critical revelation from their findings is the premature collapse of the building's swimming pool deck, occurring at least 4 minutes prior to the structure's overall failure, corroborating accounts from earlier witnesses. The examination now intensively explores potential flaws in both the pool deck and the support columns as likely contributors to the catastrophic event. The origins of disaster trace back to the tower's construction era in the 1970s, where deviations from standard building codes laid the groundwork for future calamity. Modifications over the decades, increasing the burden on an already compromised structure, and the relentless creep of water infiltration are scrutinized for their erosive impact on the concrete and steel that once upheld the Champlain Tower's south. Through meticulous investigation, federal experts are unraveling the complex web of factors contributing to this tragedy, from structural design deficiencies to the accelerated deterioration of building materials. With the investigative journey pressing forward, NIST sets its sights on completing the critical technical work by the coming summer, May 2025, a document of profound significance that the community of survivors, the bereaved families, and a watchful world await with bated breath. This report promises not just to elucidate the causative factors of the collapse, but to offer a comprehensive blueprint for overhauling building safety standards, embodying the lessons extracted from the heartbreak of Surfside. The Surfside collapse will forever be etched in the memory as a somber reminder of the importance of vigilance, safety, and community. As Surfside rebuilds, the legacy of those lost in the tragedy endures, inspiring a commitment to safeguarding the future. In the shadow of the Champlain Tower's south, a new chapter begins, one of resilience, hope, and the unwavering spirit of a community united in the face of adversity. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment if you want to support the channel.